Today we are going to talk about factory design pattern. Factory design pattern is a creational pattern that uses factory methods to deal with the problem of creating objects without having to specify exact class of the object that will be created. There are many instances where we would like to abstract out the functionality and give only the details that are needed by the class. Let's take an example of a car or a vehicle where there are multiple models that we have, but all these models or all these kinds of cars would be performing certain function. For example, let's take a vehicle where vehicle has multiple methods or multiple functions that it can do, such as start, stop, or other common things that are done by the vehicle. If we have to create those classes, generally we tend to create multiple classes with the same method being repeated in all of the classes, and we would create corresponding class while instantiating it and then use it in our code. But using this factory method, we don't have to deal with creating new objects of that specific class. For example, let's say we are creating a Honda class or a Nissan class, then while instantiating it, it would be a new Honda or new Nissan where you would be creating that specific object. Instead of if you are using a factory method, you don't have to know the underlying implementation, but you could generalize it in such a way that you could call the vehicle uh, interface. If you can implement that in Honda and Nissan, you could use vehicle factory to generate that corresponding object without specifying the class name. Okay, let's build this example and maybe then you would understand better. Let me open Visual Studio and let's start building this factory method. For example, first, let's say we have something called vehicle. Let's create a vehicle.java. And this is not a class. Let's create this as an interface. And this interface can have multiple methods. As of now, I'll just create one method called start method. If you see, an interface will have only the blueprint of the actual implementation. It won't have the functionality of that uh, class. So once you create an interface, you could use that interface in other classes by implementing it. Let's create two different classes. One would be Honda class, new file, honda.java. And here I would say implements vehicle. So once if you implement it, it'll force you to implement the methods that are there in the vehicle class. So for example, we have created a start method in our vehicle interface. We need to implement that method here within this class. Let's do that. Void start and system.out.println and Honda. And this we will have a override annotation. I'll say public void start. Now I have overridden the method in vehicle class to print as Honda. Similarly, I'll create a new file called nissan.java. So I do the same thing, implements vehicle public void start system.out.println I am in Nissan, and I would go ahead and annotate this with override. So I have created two classes. Vehicle is an interface, and Nissan and Honda are the classes. Now let's go ahead and create a factory method that will use these classes. So I'll name that as vehicle factory dot java. So this is a class, and within this I'll say public, and the return type is vehicle. Get vehicle is the method name, and within this method I would like to first I'll check if the vehicle type. Let's take the vehicle type as a string argument. Vehicle type. Now let's say vehicle type equals to null. If it is null, return null. If vehicle type dot equals ignore case, and I'll say Nissan, then I would return new Nissan, and the next line would be if vehicle type dot equals ignore case and Honda, then I would return new Honda object, else it would just return null. So here we have created a factory class where we have one method called getVehicle. So you would be passing a parameter as vehicle type. So whether you need a Nissan vehicle, Nissan object, or Honda object, then this factory method would return that corresponding object. So let's create a new class called vehicle factory test. So this is where we will create our main method to use that factory method, vehicle factory test dot java. And now let's go ahead and create a main method, static void main string args, and within this let's create an object vehicle factory equals new vehicle factory. Here we have instantiated vehicle factory, and now let's use this vehicle, create a vehicle, it's an interface, Nissan. Let's name it as Nissan, as we would like to get a Nissan object, and vehicle factory dot get vehicle. Here I would be passing Nissan as a string, and then if I say Nissan dot start, it would execute Nissan's method. Similarly, if I would like to instantiate a Honda object, I would use the same vehicle Honda equals vehicle factory dot vehicle as Honda, and within this I'll call the start method of Honda class. I'll say Honda dot start. If you see here, in the first line, we are just instantiating the vehicle factory. Then we are trying to get the corresponding object based on the parameter that we are passing. So here vehicle factory dot get vehicle of Nissan, then it will go into the method get vehicles within vehicle factory class, and it would get corresponding object, and that object would be stored in this Nissan, and we are calling Nissan dot start. This will execute Nissan class method that is that we have created within the Nissan.java class. Similarly for Honda, it will get the Honda object and then it will execute this Honda.start. Okay, now let's compile all the Java files now. So now I have compiled all the Java files. Let's execute the main method by saying Java vehicle factory test. So here, if you see, when we called Nissan.start, it printed I am Nissan. And if I said Honda.start, it called I am Honda. So here, if you see that we are creating the objects without exposing the class by just passing the parameter to create this object. So this is a great example for factory method. This could be utilized for various use cases where another use case would be for using shapes or uh, food items or items in a cart. So these are some of the examples that could be used for a factory method. I hope it was useful and thank you for watching.